Heavily fought. Can you hear me now? Teacher, can you hear me now? Please, if anyone can say something, please kindly say something.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank God. Edna, welcome. Temita, welcome. Before Ramsey, welcome. Hello, welcome. Please say hello. I would appreciate that you guys unmute your mic. We can't even see your face, Ponce. And then so I can get feedback that you guys can hear me very well. How are you guys doing? Edna, how are you doing? So good to have you in the room tonight. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Can you hear me? I think my network is kind of bad. But can you hear me?
How are you? Okay. You guys should miss your mic. Let's hear from you now.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Ramsey.
All right, great. All right, great. I hope you can see me too.
We can see you too. You look ready. You look ready for the author.
I'm just a spectator. I'm just here to listen. I'm just here to listen in.
Welcome.
Who will tell this woman that her network is bad?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening. How are you doing? Yes, yes, loud and clear. Yes, I can. Listen, okay. After the dance, the people are caught on the video to be
Good evening, everybody. Okay, let me turn on my video if it makes it better. Hi, everybody. You're welcome to tonight's review. We're finally here. We've been prepping for this, looking forward to this for a very long time. From the very long time is from when we started reading ADANNA. And people were all over the place. So now is our opportunity to ask all our questions, to say everything we have on our mind. I'm actually looking forward to everything Bibliopha Ramsey will say, particularly because of the anger he has packed in his chest for this whole period, book review period. So I'm just going to be saying hello to all of us one by one. Good evening, Bibliopha Ramsey. Good evening, Bibliopha Ore. This is the first time we're seeing you here since you got married. Good evening, Mrs. Ore. Good evening, Bibliopha Grace. Good evening, Tammy. Good evening, iPhone. Good evening, Esther. I saw Bibliopha Eloho before. Hi, Esther. I saw Bibliopha Eloho before. I don't know where he went to. Hello, Aki. It's so exciting to see everybody here. It's so exciting to see everybody here and prepped. Bill Fatime, I know you have a lot on your mind you want to say. I know my mind is telling me that you do. And I'm very excited you are here to pour it all out. It's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock and we're ready to begin. So we'll start really soon. Ooh, our author is here. Good evening. Good evening, Adesuwa. So nice to have you here. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's so exciting to have you here for this review. We're so glad you not only responded, but you are indulging us this evening.
Hi.
Hi, Adesuwa.
Yeah, hi.
So my name is Edna. And then just Tosin is also here. And then a number of people from the Treasure Heart Book Club are here. And also people that are not on the book club, but read the book and have 1,001 things to say and questions to ask. And we are all here together. It's so exciting to have you here with us tonight.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So without wasting much time, I am just going to yield my mic to Tosin for her to read the biography or to do the introduction. Thank you.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome, Adesuwa. So good to have you with us. And Edna, thank you so much for holding up the room. So I'll just quickly go straight to the biography and then we can set the ball rolling. Investment banker by the day, romance writer by night, Adesuwa O'man Nwokedi began writing, and what started as a strip of 26 title, a self-described hopeless romantic, when she's not great character, is a loving wife and mom of. Join me as I welcome Adesuwa O'man Nwokedi. And like everyone has actually said, I think we have questions. And thank you so much for taking out the time to be with us tonight. Thank you so much. I think I'll be using my mic right now.
Okay, I apologize. Let me start from the beginning. When we first got introduced to ADANNA was during our 3rd year anniversary. Mm, that was like in March. Excuse me, that was in March. One of the members of the club said it was her favorite book. She kept explaining to us how the book has ups and downs and how it was. We couldn't relate, yeah. And so when we're reading, when we're selecting our reads for June, the book came up and there was a huge tussle and a huge fight. And she pushed us into the book. The week we began reading the book, I wish I could show you our WhatsApp chats. The book club WhatsApp group was on fire, literally on fire. Everybody had an opinion. We're going back and forth a lot. And then it spurred people that hadn't read the book and hadn't begun reading the book to start reading the book. And our first review was all over the place. It was so crazy. I came online one day and I asked, who wrote this book? I went online to look for the person that wrote the book. That's how spellbound. I kept wondering what was going through her mind while she was writing the book. Why is this book so intense? The book is so vivid, so intense, beautiful work. Thank you. A lot of people went through very intense traumatic experiences, and this book seemed to awaken it again. So some other people helped them heal, and a lot of people just had questions. And who better to have answers to our questions than the mind that pushed us into that maze? So here we are. Okay. Here we are with our questions. So people are just going to drop questions in the chat box. Some people have sent in their questions already. I will read out the questions to you, and then we go from there. So
just a small caveat.
Yeah.
I wrote in 2019. That's 5 years ago. So yeah, and I think I see on the call a friend of mine and a fellow author. I know she was an early reader. Ufoma, hi. Yeah, I wrote like a long time ago. So forgive me if I'm a bit fuzzy, because there have been other books since that time. But yeah, go on.
Okay. My first question, I believe, is a question most of us have. Or it was a question we got the most while reading the book is why? What was the inspiration? Why is the book so intense? Where did the thought of the book come from? Is it like there was something, what was the background? Was there something that led to the book, or it was just the mind of an author?
Okay, I wanted to write a murder mystery because I don't know if you're familiar with my work. That's ADANNA is not my typical story. I'm a romantic author, and I wanted to write a murder mystery. That was the major thing, right? And I wanted to create this scenario where everybody would be kind of like a suspect. So it was like kind of working backwards. Okay, yeah, this is gonna happen, and back then I used to write, like now I'm a plotter, like now I plot my entire book before I even start. But I think with ADANNA, I was just writing and just going along. And I don't know if I ever intended Akana to be so dark, and I don't know if I intended her struggles and then it to be so, but it just, I don't know. I was just vibing, to be honest. And at the time, I was writing for my community. I had a fertility community at the time. So I was sharing like a chapter every other day. So, then I didn't really anticipate that it would one day be like a book. I was just like sharing the story that came to my mind, and back then I didn't even think it was so dark. It's now, I think I had to read it again about 2 years or so. And I'm like, okay, all right, yeah. Okay. I think it was a bit intense, but yeah, it wasn't anything born from, oh, I had this experience that I want to put into words. I wanted to write a murder mystery, and I had to build, let's say, some events and drama to support the whole premise of the story. So that was it, basically.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I actually presumed we were going to say, I was having this conversation with my colleague at work, and we agreed that it had to be somebody's story. Because we felt like it is so vivid. It actually just goes to say how much of a good writer you are. I'm not trying to patronize you, but then it's the truth. It just goes to say how much of a good writer you are. It's just the way the story went. I almost have no words. I almost have no words. Okay, so I'm just we had looking at rounding up in a short while. In a short while, like 40 minutes or 15 minutes. So I'm just going to ask people to ask their questions. I don't want to make it rowdy. I know people want to. Some people, it will be easier for them to say their questions than type the questions.
That's
so
right.
I'm just going to ask people to unmute their mics and then say the questions that they have. Bilofa Ramsey, he particularly had a huge, I don't know what to call it, anger or struggle with the book. It was traumatic for him. So I want him to express himself his own way and ask his question himself. So
Okay, hi, good evening. Hi, Adesuwa, good evening. Good evening. So I don't even know I don't know how to approach this. Okay, so I actually thought I was going to just listen, look at you, and but you seem a little unassuming, and I can't marry the story with the writer, which is fine because I'm a storyteller myself. I was part of the people who were together, Gangs of Lagos, Brotherhood, Ayinla, and a few other one projects.
Very nice.
And as a storyteller, I always feel that majority of the time I'm more about mischief than any other thing. I like it when I create something that people talk about, yes, people argue about, but not something that uh, I was going to actually ask, have you killed someone before? Have you committed murder before? It's a very honest question, trust me. There's no mischief in that. Like really, because you seem like someone who's going to commit crime and not even bat an eyelid, really. And
oh my God.
no, it's a little weird because as a storyteller, like I read the book and it was really unfortunate that I was selected to review the book. And the sad part was I asked for it myself. They were on their own. They didn't put me. I was the one that I fought to review the book. And when I was reading the book, like I almost fired someone at work. I almost fired the person. I was trying to tell the story and the person was not understanding. I had to give the book to the girl, like take this book and read and then come back to me. And then she understood where I was coming from and then we were even. So first and foremost, I just feel that while you were writing that story, you already answered my question. That's why I asked if you've killed somebody before, because it's something that you didn't even think about it when you wrote it. You didn't even think it was dark, or you didn't think it was that dark, really, because life is not. I like a part of it. Life is not Nollywood. It's not African magic movies. It's not, someone is not always going to suffer and then stumble on some riches or stumble on some fortune. No, there are some people that are going to suffer from start to finish. It is just the law of life for some people. But then the plots, the twists, and then just at some points when you feel that okay, there's respite, which I feel anyone that has been through that kind of ordeal deserves a little bit of respite, just to understand that life is not as horrible as you think it is. Something happens again that takes her back to the ditch, and once she's going back to the ditch, it's twice the last ordeal. So I would like to ask again that was it deliberate? And was it a case of you trying to torture people? Because personally, I'm advanced 30 plus, and I'm telling you that I was traumatized. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I was traumatized. I was traumatized because I'm a feminist. I like to defend women. But this particular point, we had an episode last week where I felt that okay, this particular point about this is the last thing I'm saying about it. This particular point where uh, ADANNA was in love with the doctor, even though the doctor liked her too, but he was professional. He was being a good man, and he was feeling the girl too. But he had to, and like, okay, this is somebody's wife, and he didn't have any inkling that she was struggling or her marriage was in tatters. He didn't know. So when she was trying to, pass advances, and then she even took it by force, and the guy stopped her. On her way home, she met a guy, and then I was saying that my opinion was that she should have gotten a grip. That there is no, I'm never going to make excuse for her. The fact that the doctor didn't see her feet, didn't see things from her angle, didn't feel the girl at that time, or didn't show, does not excuse the fact that she went out with a guy she should never have gone out with. She should take responsibility for that. But some of her friends that night felt that no, the fact that she has been through a lot of things means that she wasn't even thinking. No, I do not feel that. I will not excuse her for that. As much as I'm sorry for what she's been through, but that was a big mistake on her part. So that was the take from last week.
Sometimes as a woman, you want to feel seen, right? And given, like she had already done about 20 years at that point, of abuse from her husband, from her husband's son, it had been like 20 traumatic years. And then this doctor whom she had noticed years back at his wedding, the marriage that didn't work out. So I guess she was feeling rejected. And when someone paid her attention, as a woman, you want to just, you want to feel seen, basically. So since she was rejected by NATO, and then this other chap was paying her attention, then she went for it. Given that she was already a very tortured person internally. You understand? Even externally.
Okay, so are you not saying she should not take responsibility for what happened to her Abaise?
No, of course. No. Of course she should take responsibility. I'm just
okay, so that was the part. That I'm fine. That was the part where people felt that no, she's excused because of what she was going through. So
because she also knew,
I'm not.
Yeah, she also knew what her husband and her stepson were capable of, given what they'd done to the gardener. So she knew, but then she still went ahead with it. So yeah, she's culpable in some way. But I was just trying to explain why she would have even
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand that why, but I'm just saying she's culpable. And then finally, how do people think about you? Do you have friends? Do people run away from you? Do you have people? Do people come to your house?
Thank God I have somebody who knows me in real life on this call. For my please, am I a mass murderer?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just waiting for your answer.
Like people ask me what my state of mind was at the time I wrote the book.
I really want to know. I really want to know. I want to know, like, were you going through things? Talk to me man to man. Were you going through things?
I was in a very good space. I had just had my youngest child. That was, I think, the first book I wrote after my maternity. So I was very okay. Like when there was nothing wrong with me. I wasn't in any emotional bad space or physical. I was in a very, very pleasant headspace. I was just trying to explore I wanted to have some more range, basically. I wanted to try something different because my typical stuff is just romance. It's only my last book that I wrote in December that was also a little bit dark because it explored addiction, drug addiction and stuff. But typically I write, sweet love stories. So I wanted to challenge myself with something different. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Adesuwa. Thank you. Okay, so I see Eki getting ready. Eki, these are the people that really, really fought during the book review. So, but first of all, I'm going to take Tosin, for her to ask her question. Then we'll go to Eki. Eki is ready, actually, very ready. So, Tosin.
Okay. Thank you so much, Edna. I think most of my questions have been answered, but my question, I'm driving my question from your biography. So you're an investment banker. You've written 26 books. I've been opportunity to read many of your books, like The Marriage Class, Jennifer's Bridesmaid, the Malomo series, Call Me Legacy. I've been able to read them, yeah. And like 26 titles and counting, obviously. And you are a wife and a mom of 3. How were you able to juggle this? Like how? You said during the day you are an investment banker and at night you write romance. It's more or less like this little biography is really power packed for me, I think. It's more or less like you don't really have any time to do a lot of things. So how do you do this? Honestly, I would want to know.
I just find that's one of the reasons why I plot my books very intensely. So I just find pockets of time during the day, because like you said, I have a very demanding 9-to-5 job. And of course, I have 13-year-old twins and I have a 5-year-old son. So
wow.
But the thing is, the reason why it's not so difficult is because I enjoy it. So it's I enjoy the little pockets of time I can steal for myself, even if it's to write half a chapter, even if it's to write 1,000 words. Do you understand? So I just steal pieces of time here. I have to admit, this year has been the book I've been writing this year has taken me longer because it's been more difficult to find, that time. But I do try to make out the time for it because I enjoy it. It's like a means of escapism for me. The 30 minutes I can steal, or 1 hour I can steal. It's like me just, losing myself in this fantasy world I'm creating, So it's about stealing bits of time here. So that my other responsibilities don't suffer in the process.
Right. Well done, man. And I think my last question will be, so you've expressed your emotion as a writer. Have you in any way been in the reader's shoe? Like, have you read this book yourself? And what emotions do you feel yourself reading this book? Because I remember that I cried. At some point, I had to pause this book for days. for days. I could not continue. I could not. So have you been in our shoe? And what are the emotions you felt? You expressed yourself as a writer. I would have asked you why you are writing this book. What are your emotions? But that's fine. As the reader, what are your emotions? How do you feel? I want to know. Honestly, maybe we are being too extreme, kind of.
I think
I just want to know.
It was about 2-3 years ago that I had to reread it again. I think I was going through some reformatting or something, And I was like, okay, it's kind of right. It's a bit, so I could see what people were saying, because at the time, I was like, I was more focused, in all honesty, I was more focused on the love story, on Nato and ADANNA at the end. In my mind, I was more focused on the murder mystery, that, the whodunit, the wonder who, Uzochi. That was where that was the focus. So I was surprised when it was her, the suffering that actually took center stage.
It wasn't getting better. It wasn't getting better. From one problem to the other. And honestly, yeah, good job. Good job. I really wish this book would come because I really want to explore Nato's relationship with Adanna. Because Adanna suffered in this life, God, I beg. Honestly, I was telling Edna at some point, I said, I feel like Adanna had options, and the option is to kill herself, which she did not do. Because I don't know, but for me, I imagine a lot of things while I read. Like I bring my characters to life. And it wasn't pleasant to see. I don't wish my enemy. Edna was saying something today. She said that she wants to share the book with people, and she wrote that Tosin would not agree. Honestly, I don't think anybody should actually feel the way I felt while I was reading the book. And please, lastly, if this book is to be adapted as a movie, would you love to do that? I just want to know.
Yes. It's always the dream of any writer, any creative to see there was on paper, assume flesh on. Yeah, of course. Definitely. I don't have the expertise for it. So if anybody who has expertise approaches me, yeah, why not?
All right. Not? Thank you so much, Adesuwa. I'm using my own mic. Eki, let's hear from you, please. Eki, are you here?
Hello, I'm here. Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
You. So for me, this book I was surprised at people's reaction though. I think the story didn't make me cry. It was the comments that made me cry. And I want to ask, because hearing your response saying that we are just writing, I'm like, the story, I was supposed to be part of the reviewers for the book, but the story was too close to home.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And seeing people's response made me feel like, oh, maybe I say, this girl, you don't suffer for life. I couldn't understand what was emotional about the book. And seeing people's response, I had to go behind and beg Eloho and Tosin that, please, I don't want to review this book, because I think people will look at me differently, or that, I just felt out of place. That was how I felt, because I could relate on so many levels. I understood the emotional trauma of being a widow for Adanna's mom, and then having a sick child. Because my dad died when my younger sister was just 2 years old. So, and then I lost her to depression. So I think Adanna's mom was strong enough in her own way. But for one thing, I would like to say this is a very good story. And I like that we all read the book, because it brought all of us out of our bubbles. And it was not an easy thing. I thought it was the comments. It wasn't the book. But I was so happy that somebody could capture life, because for some people, that is life. It's one fight and one battle after another. So when you say you were just writing, I'm like, and nobody told you. It was too close to home. I remember talking to Tosin, and I'm like, Tosin is too close to home. Tosin, you're my closest friend, or one of my closest friends. It's too close to home. I'm not reviewing this, because I feel like my response to people will be too harsh. Another thing I wanted to ask is, what was your thoughts when you wrote it about the female gender? Because in the story, we see that a lot of being a woman was being dependent on a man. Like all the women in the book, apart from maybe now, I don't know how to pronounce it, Chief's daughter, right? And that was because of the privilege that she had being a rich man's daughter. But because we do not even know her own side of the story, right? So yeah. I would like to know, what was your thoughts on the female gender? Like, I feel like it was centered in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, the late 90s into the early 2000s. And I think, because like in general, as apart from even being a woman, I hope I portray strong women in my books in general. But I was just trying to make it realistic to the period and the location. Remember, we weren't talking about even like Lagos, this was like, I won't say even rural Nigeria, but like the location and the period. So it wasn't, it was the norm then, you know, for women, especially financially disadvantaged women, to be dependent, you know, on their spouses or their parents, their fathers or whomever, you know. I think it's now in more recent years that even in those locations that women are now like not necessarily so, you know, dependent. Adana was bartered, you know, in exchange for the money that would treat her sister. So right from the beginning, she was already treated like a piece of, you know,
Item.
yeah. So from the very, very beginning, she did not feel like she even, you know, like her dream of going to NASA, you know, was shattered when her father died, and you know, she had to be basically sold to a man old enough to be her father, you know. So yeah, I guess so. The women in the book who appeared dependent, maybe even weak, it was because I was just trying to, you know, focus on the period and the location as the story was set in.
Okay, because you know, for me, it was like, I wanted to say this, you were taught about. My mom wasn't entirely dependent on my dad, but I saw how a father is the covering of them.
Yeah.
As an orphan, I see how your parents are your covering because I'm the first child, and how so I could understand where Adanna's selflessness was coming from, but at the same time, I was hurting in many in many ways because I was speaking the lessons and I was speaking the reality he was speaking to. And because I know other orphans or females, and you know, we see the things. I wanted to be a singer growing up. I wanted to sing, you know, be an actress. But I had to reset myself and study, work harder, you know. So seeing those women, it made me realize that, and that's the reality of our mother's times, actually. Even if you were working, losing a spouse is enough to stabilize a person. Is
Yeah.
that is, and I like that you portrayed that. I also like that you portray the realistic side of what children who lose parents have to go through. Um, I see the book in a different light. I feel like people think I'm happy, but I just maybe it felt like for some reason now people can see the world I had to grow up in. The world that demands that you have to do something in exchange to be loved.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that it's a very good book. I wanted to get your thought process because in my head I'm like, did somebody share my story with this lady? Or you know, I've been attacked. Like it felt like because I also talked about the psychological part that nobody was looking at in Adanna's case. Adanna was traumatized, and psychology is the one aspect that I feel like in Nigeria we don't pay attention to. Like, for instance, before I judge anyone, I like to think, I like to hear the story because we all respond to things differently. We all respond to things. So that's my third question. Are you a therapist? Are you a psychologist by maybe mistake? Maybe you stepped into that line of profession without maybe storytelling drove you? Because you actually, if a therapist should read it, they will tell you they've heard worse stories than.
That's true. No, you know, like in my time when I was younger, when women were widowed, like I could see there was a change completely in the lifestyle of that family, complete change. Like now in more modern times where it's almost like a 50-50, you don't see that kind of that kind of drastic change. But back then, lifestyles it was like a complete, you know, 100 to 0. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just unfortunate what a lot of people had to go through. And you know, even though at first Adanna was held hostage there, when the time came for her to go and she left, there was nothing for her back home either. She was kind of like, you know, floating, and she on her own volition went back, you know. So it was almost like she would decided to enslave herself further, you know, so because she had nowhere to go, basically.
Yeah, my final question is the men. I know that men are audacious because our society constantly reminds us that it's a man's world, right? But the men in this book were animals, like, and I won't lie to you, it's not so far from the truth. But no, thank God nowadays we have. I'm going to say something there. It got to a time it was so bad for us. My mom had to carry cement, and she came back home crying. So I can understand where ADANNA's mom made her come from, because I knew what it took my mom to do. What she came home crying that all the men. That was all she said, and all tomorrow I didn't get the answer. So I feel like people think I'm happy about this because just because there's a world like that, there is a world like that, and I'm holding back tears right now. And I like that you portrayed it, that there are men who are capable of this thing. I don't know if maybe somebody else with my story read your book and feel a breath at that, like not alone, even if it's just fiction. But I looked at the men in that book and I'm like, what happens to this new generation of men? Would they learn to love people without getting something? The average Adana's yearn for love, I could understand it. I could. So how did you come about such character in the men? It was so
like well, even now, but maybe not as rampant. Before, like, it was a man's world, right?
Yeah.
And then when you were a man with power and means, you could do anything, basically.
Yeah.
You were kind of untouchable. So that was where Chief was. And his first son was, spoiled, entitled, and just downright an evil person, So I guess because for me, like I said, I was working backwards, it was from the murder mystery. And I wanted to create this family dynamic where, there would be enough reason for any of these people to have been responsible for the man's death. And, that was why the son that she met first, one who traveled, he wasn't as bad as his brother, What he did was basically because he felt the hurt. He thought ADANNA had, willfully, played him. Do you understand? So I won't say all the men were so horrible. I mean, I think it was mainly Chief and ADANNA. Was there any other person who was, like I said, I wrote this book 5 years ago, so I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I think it's just Chief and ADANNA.
Yeah, just the two of them.
Every other men they're okay.
Yeah, I think when I'm talking of ADANNA and Chief, because in my head, it feels like they created a rent-free space that I'm not even. Yes, because it's for the life of me, I couldn't understand. But in all, it's a very good book. It's a very good book. I'm not that my colleagues are traumatized, honestly, but life is what it is. Life. But that's all for me.
Thanks so much. And well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Eki. Thank you. Tolu has Tolu has a question, so I'm just going to yield my mic to her so she can ask her question. Tolu, please.
All right, thank you so much. This is one crazy book that I've ever read. I mean, brilliant, I must say. During the reviews, I keep on saying, "Oh, this was a tragedy. This was a tragedy. No comedy. This was a tragedy, but it ended well. It ended well, and I appreciate. I really do appreciate the writing. I know of only two people who can pull off something like this. Francis Rivers and Tyler Perry. I deliberately do have Tyler Perry
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Good plot, but he usually just finds a way to break my heart. And I'm like, no, I can't deal. Interesting story, nice build up, and yeah, so great work. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so my question, most of them have been asked, but I have to spell this out because I really just want to see further from your own perspective. All right. So at first I didn't understand what was happening with ADANNA. And I was finding it difficult to reconcile 7 years of trauma with wanting to be loved and seen. Okay, so if you can recall, I think about 7 years thereabout after the death of her sister, which she literally sacrificed her life for. She went back home and they were mourning, and she saw this guy. I think his name was David, and she really wanted something to happen between them. All right, but our reasoning was that all the people around her are rejecting her because they heard the rumor or the news that people with both father and son. Yeah. And she felt nothing good could come out of herself. I think David also heard about the rumor and also distanced himself from her. And then she concluded that nothing good can come out of her life. She's already damaged, she's already ruined, she's already used and abused, basically. And then she, by herself, packed her bags and went back to UGG, to the ranch. All right, so that was already settled. But down the line, or I think a year later, she met Chizotere, and then she wanted something to happen. And then Chizotere died in the most tragic way ever. I mean, that was supposed to be like a night that escaped, and then Hope was just blown out like that. And then she went into this sleepwalking. The trauma really eats deep into her subconscious that she started sleepwalking. Yeah. All right. And then 20 years of subjecting herself to that trauma, we find ADANNA forcing herself on NATO. And I was wondering, normally, for someone that is not normally traumatized, for someone that is not going through any form of trauma whatsoever, when you serve them like 6 delicious, well-prepared breakfasts, they will just give up on love. Yeah. We find women, once they've had like 6 heartbreaks, very good one, they just say, you know what, I'm not doing this thing again. Any man that comes to propose to them, they'll just plug them away, send them off, and sometimes in the rudest of ways, sometimes in the harshest of ways, they just give up on it totally. And it would take maybe the grace of God and then maybe someone who is genuinely interested in them to break off those walls that they have built up over time. But then we find someone who has gone through 20 years of slavery, 20 years of trauma, back to back, like no break between Chief and Akana and everything. So the psychology would have told you, okay, this person has actually given up. And this was something she had actually done about maybe 13 years ago. All right. So I was like, okay, 20 years of trauma, and she's still wanting NATO, and then she still recklessly went out with bars. And then when I concluded the book, I saw your autobiography that you are an hopeless lover. I said, okay, this explains it. I couldn't understand. I couldn't put it together.
Sometimes like people react differently to different situations, like people who have one heartbreak and that's it, they close up. People who get broken, they want to try again. They're heartbroken, they want to go again. They're heartbroken. Do you understand? I think sometimes this comes from, like in ADANNA's case, she had that, desire to be loved, because say from when her late father, used to shower her with love and affection, she hadn't really gotten it like that, so there was that desire for love, and I think it was still there despite everything that she'd gone through. And of course there was now that rebellion that was coming through, which came through with her deciding to go out with Baz, because she didn't like Baz, she wasn't attracted to Baz, and she knew she was being reckless, but maybe that rebellion, and unfortunately, he paid the price for it. So sometimes people just like, like okay, like J-Lo, for example. J-Lo always has from one guy to the other guy. So people, have like subsequent but then others will just close up and never ever date again. So people vary, I guess.
All right. Okay. Yeah, so that's on the side. And then I was just even wondering that, okay, so let's say she had even actually resolved that, oh, you know what, nothing good can ever happen to me. Shunning off every prospect or proposition coming to her. I was wondering how you would have gone about writing NATO, going through thick and thin, pulling down the strongholds and the mountains, basically swimming through the oceans to get her house up, that stronghold, because she was literally like condemned to that place. Chief giving the Uka the instruction never to let her out of the premises again and all that, And I'd love to see, okay, how would you have portrayed NATO, fighting through thick and thin to get her out of the place? Just a lot of thoughts going through my mind,
If
and
Chief hadn't
talking
died.
about the men.
Okay.
What?
If Chief hadn't died, right?
Yes.
Okay.
How would you have gotten that out of place with NATO, and let's say she was not really interested in NATO, basically.
Yeah.
And then all you would have to cross Chief, Uzochi, Akana, yes, and even going through herself and breaking down the struggle of 20 years of being a slave and all that and going through that traumatic experience. All right. So yes, Uzochi was another point, but I think someone that I mentioned in the passing, what she reflects in the society and who are overly dependent on men and who even betray their fellow female folk just because of a man. Yeah. But I think you already touched that already. And I like what you did with the police, Sergeant Ifedi. You didn't call our Nigerian police.
He was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, the role was good. I mean, amongst the men, I think it was good. NATO was good, and others. I mean, there were nothing to write the village about. Even Akana's people. You would have expected that. Oh, the men in our family representing our father would not subject us through this hardship. They should have at least rose up to the occasion and say, we want our child back. You are subjecting us to unusual, this traumatic slavery. But they didn't stand up for her. But I like what you did with the police. And then I was wondering, would you have done the same thing if it was not the death of Chief that was reported, but the assault on ADANNA rather? Let's say by chance Uzochi was going to mother up and say, you know what, I'm going to report this useless family to the police and what they're doing to this child. Would you have accommodated the police to take up breaking her out of that place, or at least arresting Chief with all his influence and power and all that?
Of course, that would have been a different story, that would have, like if I taken a different turn, like, okay, fine, somebody would report them and they will be brought to justice and, happy ever after for her and NATO. That would have been, okay, take door A. But like I said, I wanted to write a murder mystery, and it was centered around, okay, this man who is hated even by his children, of course, by the wife he's abusing, and even by the, villagers and all, like the gardener's father, who hated him to the end and was convinced that it was his peers that killed the man.
It was the one that killed him. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was it. So there's so many other ways the story could have gone. So many other ways, door 1, door 2, door 3, door 4, but that this was the path that I wanted to to explore, basically.
All right, I think I'll just leave that for others to ask their questions and make their comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Tolu. Ufoma has a question, so I'm just going to use my mic to Ufoma. So Ufoma, you can go ahead with your question.
Okay, hi, thank you so much. And it's been lovely being here with you guys. Yeah, I'm so proud of you, Adesuwa. You are wonderful. And I enjoyed the little bit I played in editing the book.
Yes. Yeah, she
And
also edited, yeah, she edited the book for me. Yes,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Oh
yeah,
wow.
but
Thank
I
you.
need to read it. I need to read it again. I really do. Because some of these things that you're saying, I'm like,
Okay, you
I'm
forgot.
having more recollection of them. But one of the things that astounded me the most was when we got to the end and we found out who actually killed him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was me like, wow, I did not see this coming. So my question is, did you know at the beginning who killed him? Or did you just get there like the
No,
rest
no,
of us?
no, I knew. And then I really wanted it not to be as, that was why I had to plant some, for you a writer, is it red herrings? What do you call all those?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had to plant all those, it could have been Akana who he had a fight with. It could have been
Yeah,
the villager
yeah.
who, it could have been ADANNA whom he'd have been abusing. It could be NATO who wanted to hurt him for killing ADANNA. It could be ADANNA's brother who was seen in town and very angry, seeking revenge. So I had to plant all these red herrings, but I knew from the very beginning whom I wanted the culprit to be.
Yeah, that was really intelligent. And the whole thing was a masterpiece for me. Like I said, it was like you've lived 1,000 lives, and it just took your book, your writing to like more than the next level. It was just like, wow, this is out of the world. So it's
Thank
definitely my fave.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
well
much.
done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ufoma. Thank you. Yes, I had that same reaction when I found out who killed Chief. So it made me want to read the book again with the killer in mind
Yeah.
and why she did the stuff she did. So is this why you did a very beautiful job, sincerely, because we realized that her advice, her decisions, her encouragement, her goodwill had one purpose. They were directional. They wanted to fail and fail out because she still wanted to be Chief's wife. I heard a story a couple of hours back, I think, from my husband, and he said somebody planned. It's like the person had this person in mind to be their partner for a very long time. And the person did a lot of things to achieve that goal. And at the end of the day, till today, the person has been the person's side chick since she was in university.
Yeah.
She is presently almost 50 or above 50, and they're still not married.
Is he married to someone else?
Yes, she is married to someone else. So she was still there, hoping to be the second wife at the very least. So she literally threw her life away because of one person. And I could say it's because of the book.
Some people, when they focus on something, they focus on it and they don't care what they lose in the process. They just, are focused on that.
It's I won't say the word foolish because it's worse than that. That's what Uzochi did, sincerely. She threw her life away with hopes that she felt she was going to achieve, and she didn't achieve. And at the end of the day, she still lost because she lost her husband, she lost her daughter, she killed Chief, she became a wanted murderer.
But at least she got to go scot-free. She got to escape. ADANNA let her escape in COVID.
She's been hiding for the rest of her life. However short the rest of her life was going to be, but I don't think that price was worth it. But then it was spot on. Thank you. So I'm going to take a question from one more person. I don't know if she's ready for her question. She was the person who introduced us into this maze.
Oh, lovely.
She was one that told us that ADANNA was her favorite book.
Oh, beautiful.
And she fought tooth and nail to
Yeah, the book won the votes. Won the votes.
yes, by one vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so Uchechi is on the call. That's her name, Uchechi. So before Uchechi, do you want to unmute and say something? Or
is she on the call?
Okay, yeah, she's on the call. Okay. She's not responding.
Maybe she's not.
Okay. Okay. Let me take the next person with the question. Eloho. Eloho. I can literally see you not looking at me. So, you have a question? The floor is open. Please ask you.
He has already answered my question. Someone asked my question. Because initially my question was, okay, the women in the book were portrayed in a certain light. From ADANNA, her mom, Isioma, and the like. So my question initially was to ask her if the characters in the book were a reflection of women in our society at the period of writing. Because if you check, those women, they actually do not have value. You can't actually portray those women as strong women in the society. So I wanted to really ask, was it fictional or she drew inspiration from her surroundings, the society around?
No, not my immediate surroundings. Yeah, I was just thinking of what life, or just remembering, at that period, in that period, what life would have been for these women in this locale, women who have not necessarily been exposed to modern life, basically, and at the time it was still, even now we still live in a very patriarchal society, even now it's just better because we have a lot more we have stronger women now, women who are educated, who are able to fight for themselves and not be as dependent, basically. But in the locale and the time the story was set, that wasn't the case.
Okay. Then if I may probably go further, I want to ask, okay, during this scenario where ADANNA lost her dad, right? And then we had Chief coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know, fine, you are the author and the writer of the book. Do you probably think ADANNA mother would have acted differently other than giving her to Chief, getting the 10 million naira for the other child's health? I don't know. Do you think she would have acted differently?
Well, because like at that point in time, she had no choice, because apart from her husband being in debt, their produce was stolen by their staff. So they'd lost everything, basically. So she's faced with this debt that her husband has incurred. His creditors are banging on her door. And then she has a child who is basically withering and dying, Maybe she could have thought of something else. Maybe she could have, I don't know, gone to look for a way to raise the money or whatever. But at that time, I guess she couldn't think of any other way. Chief was the quickest and easiest and surest way for her to get that money.
Okay, fair enough. I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Birufa Eloho. I just saw a message that Ufoma dropped on the chat. She said one of the tricks of an oppressor is to make the oppressed feel like they're in control or that they have some power. I think men still rule the world by the way they let women think they are now empowered. That is such a controversial subject.
Nice one. True. Nice one.
But I have some thoughts around it. I won't say it's still entirely a man's world, but I think to some extent there's a matter of truth in that. You see, they feel like women are it's like women want this thing. So if we throw crumbs at them or if we throw some things at them, they might take it and feel, okay, we actually have this, but then they still hold the bulk of it in their hands. So this line reminds me of this video that has been going around for like 2 days now, about that lawmaker in Kenya.
About the bad girl.
Yeah, that's actually the bad girl. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's like she the fact that she has been in the house for so long and she has really seen those men for who they are. She was telling them that I'm not going to just sit back and let you guys walk over me like you do other people. But then I think there's an atom of truth in that. I see the looks Beautiful Tolu is giving me and giving us this period. I see the looks she's giving us, and if you still want to, okay, she's put her hands up. I was going to say if she wants to just someone like she can unmute. So, please feel free.
Okay, so I like the comments from Madra, and it just reminded me of something I noted in the book. If I asked people to go out to official where I noted that comment. So when ADANNA and NATO were finally like together in the hospital, and she was asking him, why did you reject me? Why did you turn away? Adesuwa, you made a comment through NATO, all right? And I caught it because I was like, oh, this comment right here, it said, it said, I'm going to read it out. It said it didn't feel right. I didn't feel like it's the right thing to do. You might have been the one making the move, but it felt like I was the one taking advantage of you. That was a comment NATO made. Yes, when ADANNA asked him why he rejected her when she threw herself at him. And I was wondering, okay, you might have made the move, but it still felt like I was the one taking advantage of you. This is you clearly recognizing somewhat the power, or should I say the responsibility that is saddled with the men folk. So I was going to ask a question that, do you think, I know, yes, over time, the power has been reserved to one side. Can we get to a point where, men will see women for who they really are, and that they are even really, really, really likely, to have done something and felt, oh, I don't feel responsible for you. I don't feel like I owe you this responsibility, this covering. Like, that equality, is it really, really possible? It's not just about them being patriarchal and then being masculine all the time. I don't even understand what I'm trying to say, but that equality that we're actually fighting for, is it possible? Is it possible? Can it happen? Can it really, really happen? So that's what I was really thinking of. And then the comment just came up. I said I should ask.
Okay, so just answering your question, I have two answers. So on the one hand, NATO's comment to her wasn't only necessarily from the point of, oh, I'm the man, you're the woman, right? I think he was also recognizing, her overall, condition. Do you understand? He was also recognizing not only the fact that she was the child bride of an old man and she'd been I think he also understood that it's like being with a drunk woman and that she's not really within, she's not really in possession of all her faculties, but you go ahead. She might be the one throwing herself at you, but, since you know better, you're the one basically taking advantage. So it wasn't only from the point
That's a good way to look at it.
I'm a man and a woman. And then your second question, I guess maybe there could come a time, but I'm going to say something very controversial here. I'm sorry. So yeah, I believe women should be treated fairly. I believe women shouldn't be subjugated and all that yada yada. But I also want to be I don't want my husband to tell me, oh yeah, you're strong enough. Yeah. I want him to feel like I want to be covered. You get what I mean? So do all women, I don't know. I don't know really. Maybe one day we'll get to the point where everybody can just be. Me personally, I like being the softer sex. It's controversial. And maybe not a very, very woke thing to say now, but I'm sorry. That's my own preference. I want to be my father, be my own. Yeah, I want to feel like I'm being protected and do you understand? So exactly. So yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, Bimifasolu, I think there's a challenge with her network.
She's frozen, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a challenge with her network. But I would just say one thing in response to your comment on being the softer person, softer party, the covered party. I love it too. But then in the career in space, in the workspace.
Of course. No. Okay, like in the workspace, like I mentioned, I work in corporate Nigeria.
Yeah.
And I'm not in one corner saying, "No, man, don't give me this job." No, where you go for it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, and where I work, luckily, there's no real glass ceiling for women. Women can, so yeah, you go for it and you run full throttle to achieve what you need to achieve. But I'm saying it's not all the time. I wouldn't come home and tell my husband, no, yes, we're both the captains of this ship. Yeah. So as a woman, I want to, yield to someone, and
Yeah.
with my father is still alive when I go to see him. I want to, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
So
do.
maybe I'm coming from the old school perspective, but yeah, I'm not one for we're just the whole with the that's me. Sorry, maybe it's Gen X in me.
I totally understand. I totally understand. I understand the line, the divide. That is what is missing most times with some females. They bring the whole attitude of or what they want or what they experience at work sometimes into their personal lives, into lives, relationships with their family and all that. So I understand. I understand the line that has been drawn.
I think it's also the respect, because if you're somebody who also respects you, so even if you're not both dragging, he respects you and he knows, okay, fine, we're partners in this, but I'm also your cover,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Adesuwa. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I like the fact that we were able to marry the book with what is happening in the society. We're able to converse. We're able to draw from your knowledge, and I'm also grateful to Ufoma for being here, and then also chipping in as much as you did. I'm just going to yield my mic now to Tosin, Profile Tosin, for her to say a few things.
All right, thank you so much, Edna. Thank you so much, Adesuwa. Honestly, thank you. When I was reaching out to you, it's a 50-50 thing. Some author will agree. And then this is our first live review chat. We used to have it in physical, physical meeting, but this is our first. And thank you so much. Thank you for for taking out your time. Thank you for writing this book. And every other romance novel you've given us, they're actually sweet. Yeah, and we are looking forward to have many of them. Thank you so much, Ufema, for taking out your time to be in this room. You reached out to me, and I'm so grateful that you are here tonight. Thank you so much. Adesuwa, thank you. Thank you for giving us a hard time. Thank you for making it refreshing. You know, it's actually refreshing. Our chat boss on our group has actually not been this buzzing. When we pick ADANNA, we know we've picked something from day one. At some point, because we used to have our review, we don't just say, oh, we are reading this book and then we review at the end of the month. We review it chapter by chapter every Saturday. So we pick 4 chapters this Saturday. So it's more or less like everybody is always on the toe, and then you see WhatsApp message. We have to caution people that please, no spoilers. Let's meet, you know. Like we have to do that. And thank you so much for giving us a good time. Thank you so much for writing this book. Thank you so much for giving yourself to the word. It's really, really amazing to read your work. Honestly, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Our regards to the family. On behalf of Treasure That Book Club and myself, we are saying thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, Elo, you are raising up your hand. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
You are saying Elo is first. Yeah, please go ahead.
Adesuwa, please, before you go, I just have one more question. Maybe like a word of advice.
Okay.
If you have an ADANNA before you now, what will you advise her? What will you advise?
I would tell her to run. I would, you know, I think she had convinced herself of so much. She was basically held captive mainly in her mind before Chief now put the physical restraints by way of locking. But I'll tell her to leave. I'll tell her to find a way to leave. Get out of there. There's nothing good can come from staying there. Absolutely nothing good can come from staying there. So I'll tell her to leave. That would have been my advice. Leave ASAP.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, sorry. I just want to add to his question before we go. Do you think that with the wealth of Chief's resources, I'm not talking about monetary wealth now, the fact that he was everything wrong, he was almost everything bad. He sold arms, ammunition, so he had those resources of negativity around him. Do you think she would have been able to effectively escape? And then not forgetting that he had told her before that he allowed her go. He allowed her escape to Onitsha, being Onitsha for as long as she wanted, that he would have been able to bring her back whenever he wanted to.
You're
so
correct.
Do you think she would have been able to do that?
If they hadn't found out about NATO, she would have needed someone who could take her beyond Chief's reach, basically. You know, like you're correct, being a man of means, Chief could have located her in Port Harcourt, in Lagos, you know, wherever she would have run to in that immediate time. Should have needed someone to, you know, take her somewhere further, protect her, basically, shield her, and hide her properly. So if she hadn't met NATO, you're correct, that would have been really difficult for her. But I'd have still asked her to leave regardless. Try. Make the attempt. Let him catch you.
Oh, sure. I understand, because being anywhere but there would have been better. Would have been better. Okay. Does anybody have any more questions? Because we've already finished doing the thanks, and now we'll come back to questions. So does anybody have any more questions? Sorry?
Uchechi wanted to ask questions.
Who?
Uchechi.
Okay,
yeah, I told her to put the person in the chat box, but I don't know. She might not be, and I really want her to ask questions because she actually fought for us to read this book. Yeah. Every blame was on her. As every one of us are feeling that emotion, we are calling her out, you know. I really want her to be here. There is this part of this book that I really love so much. I'm trying to read out the place where I think that's the most beautiful part of that book for me. It says, and to ADANNA, my wife, from whom I took so much more than I ever gave.
Yeah.
It reads, I leave at 15 million and also my most prized possession, my ranch. Yeah. Anyway, I love that, that at least at the end of the whole thing, she has something to hold on to.
Yes, hold on to.
You know, and then she was able to find love. Honestly, I believe that the love we actually want it. I really wish there's a part to this story that we have to read the story about Neto and Adanna, and then if probably Neto's wife come around, there are some scenario whereby you see your ex-husband move on,
The
and then you
ex-wife.
want to, I feel
Come
like there
back.
should be. I don't know. I don't love watching just one movie. I love
Yeah.
watching series. I love Tyler Perry. You know how the movie can go on and on. I want to know the news and training of everything.
And in truth, so many stories like, because in reality, in Nato and Adana, even in America, they would still have a long road because Adana would need years and years and years of therapy.
Before
right?
she heals, yes.
And then her mom being there with them as well. So
yeah.
there's
in fact, what's this lady's name? Ugoshi's daughter and Adana's brother.
Yeah, exactly.
There is still a lot of far, we trust you to do the needful. Anytime you decide to shock us, we are available. Thank you so much, Adesuwa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. As for
really
Adana, that's never gonna happen. I think I don't want to revisit.
Oh my God.
I've moved on from I don't want to revisit those characters. Yeah, just it's good where they are.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And wait, I need to I just want to say Adesuwa is so fine. Wait, let me check. Is even on the call? Just hold up because
she's on the call. She's on the call.
Okay, sorry, I take that back. Thank you, Adesuwa. Thank
you. Thank you so much, Adesuwa. We would like to leave you so you can go. Thank you so much for your time. We are grateful. Oh, Uchechi is here. Uchechi is here, please. Let's do that question. Yes, please. Edna, please go ahead.
Okay, her question reads, you describe yourself as a helpless romantic, hopeless. I think that's supposed to be hopeless. And you have a way of building strategy. You have a way of building tragedy for those that believe that this kind of love exists in fairy tales. Is your application of tragedy a way to convince them that love like that really exists?
I've only written one book on tragedy, and that's just one. I typically don't write a tragic romance. I like romance novels. I read only romance novels because what I'm reading now. I read romance novels. I write romance. I just wanted to just test my range with this one, so.
You should also consider writing that, Adesuwa, honestly. You should also consider writing, honestly, as much as, yes, the book was traumatizing for most of us. I found myself in a group this week that they were actually talking about books. And honestly, if I tell you what they are saying about ADANNA, it is well low. It is well. People were really saying a lot about ADANNA, and I understand where they are coming from because I already had my own part of experience.
See, I said I nearly fired somebody. I was this close to firing somebody. It was just for me to send an email that this person is gone from.
This feeling is very palpable. Really, I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to, but once in a while, give us that kind of vibe. Let's, it's let's feel it. But really, it's really, really brilliant story, brilliant writing. Thank you so much for giving us that. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Guys, take care.
You have a lovely night. Our regards to the family.
Thank you.
Bye, ma'am.
Good night, Adesuwa. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Good night to them. Ramsey, you can sleep well now. Edward.
Good
night, everyone.
All right.
Good night, everybody. Great. All right.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
Onyade, Uchechi, Ada.
Good night.
Rose. Thank you, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Edna kisses. Thank you. Love
At
you
least
guys.
today was a yeah.
I'm telling you, it was nice. It was really, really nice. Lydia, love you
Good
guys.
night,
Love
Tosin.
you. Love you, everyone. Good night.
Ed,
Don't worry, the
thanks.
recording will be available. We might have to
Tosin
keep,
was
we might
giving
have to
one
play
kind
for
of
you
news
to
this evening. I was like, not
So
you.
let
At
us
least
by saying good night,
why?
Tosin.
Edna is fine now by God's grace. She's God. See my fresh baby's face. Mrs. Ote. Sisma. Oh, you're beautiful. Ramsey, you're
I'm
not
like, don't
saying,
rewind me
hey,
for what?
don't let us put this on record because we are posting it on YouTube. Don't let us be family. Ramsey, we'll see you in the chat box on WhatsApp.
Yeah, maybe we can stop the recording now.
Okay. True. So that we'll hear about ourselves.